So 2026 Watch continues, and we're continuing our series of interviewing candidates for Illinois' 8th Congressional District. My guest for today's episode is an active member in the community, as well as a business leader who's been doing the work on the ground here in Illinois and is running to be the next representative to replace outgoing Representative Raja Krishnamurthy, who's running for Senate, as a quick reminder for viewers. Joining me today to talk about the headlines, his race for Congress, and a lot more, I am joined by candidate Neil Khot. Neil, thank you so much for joining us here on the Ishana Show today.
Thank you, Ishan, for having me on the show. It's an honor to have been interviewed by one of the youth, which is very rare, and congratulations on your show and a podcast.
Thank you so much. It's great to have you on, and I'm looking forward to our discussion today. But before we do head into that, why don't you take a couple of minutes to introduce yourself to my audience?
Perfect. Good question, Ishan. I was born in a small town called Belgaum to a lower middle class family with three brothers and a father who was working in a foundry and in a workshop. And my mother was a housewife. Education to us was very, very important. So I was glad that my parents educated me and I was able to come out with an engineering degree in computer science. And about 30 years ago, I left the country, and then I was raised by a single mother. I lost my father early on, and I came to this country with $300 and a degree in computer science, landed in Memphis, Tennessee, got my visa stamped, and then moved on to Arkansas. I worked there for Walmart, and from there, finally, I moved to Chicago, and I've lived here almost 30 years now. And this 8th district has been my home for 30 plus years. I'm a small business entrepreneur. I am not a career politician, not looking for my next a raise or a promotion. What I want to do is give back to the community. I've been humbled and honored that the American constituents and the American public has accepted me, and I was able to achieve my American dream. And today what I see is that dream is no longer a reality. It's only a dream. And that's why I want to fight for my 8th district, fight to ensure that this district remains vibrant. Remember, Schaumburg was a home to Motorola, the first cell phone company. Schaumburg and Hoffman Estates and other cities were home to Sears. And those conglomerates have gone under the watch of current and existing and past career politicians. And I want to ensure that common sense and out-of-box thinking, I'm able to bring those jobs back working with local municipalities and economic development managers.
It's a very powerful story. And I always love, whenever I interview candidates, I love asking, like, how'd you end up here? Like, how'd you end up in this moment here? So it's always great to hear that background. Now, you are running in the 8th district, and the 8th district is a very diverse district, a lot of different aspects to it. As you mentioned, former home of Motorola, we had Sears, we had big businesses. We also have smaller communities and different neighborhoods as well within the district who represent a lot of different interests. And so one of the questions that I've been asking your opponents in the primary so far is just what you're hearing in the community and at the doors. I'm sure it's different every time. I'm sure every time I have on a candidate in this race, like, it's going to be different because there's obviously so much that is going on constantly for people to have to be thinking about. But if I could just tell you some of the things, some of your opponents have said Social Security has been a big concern. They've talked about the threats to democracy and freedom. Is that generally along the lines of what you're hearing? Is there something else that people are also talking about at the doors?
I've been hearing a few different things as I door knock, as I go there, starting with women's rights, starting with senior care. Also, I call them as earned benefits. Yes, they are equally terrified about how the big beautiful bill, as it call, is technically a big lousy bill that's cutting essential services. Social Security and Medicare are something that people have paid into, right? And that should not be touched. I would never want anybody to touch that. Those are earned rights, right? So I hear that. I hear they're definitely angry about Trump and his behavior and his policies and things that he's almost doing close to being illegal stuff. I think that's people are really angry. People are angry that uh, when he makes us look bad in front of the world, and then on top of it criticizes individuals and uh, people. I think that's un-American. That's something not to be called by, and people are very angry about that part. But equally, in our district, what they are angry is also about affordability, meaning our average income in 8 district is around 95,000, which is pretty decent when compared to the national average income of about, I think, 55, 60-ish is what that national average income is. And
Yep.
we being in still upper middle class families, they find it difficult to make the ends meet. Two paychecks are not enough. And that affordability, if your pocketbook is not full, I think no matter all other things, don't make sense after that. So I hear a lot about anger, resentment from what's happening at the national level, but at the local level, they're worried about able to afford homes, starter homes, groceries, day-to-day living expenses. That's what I see a constituent talk to me about.
It's definitely quite the challenge. And you mentioned the big lousy bill, big beautiful bill. I call it the big ugly bill here on the show, and we will talk about that in just a moment. There's a lot in there, I'm sure, and even with your background, I'm sure there's specific stuff that you might be paying attention to, and we'll get to that in just a second. But just continuing here with the 8th district, you are running in a what I would call vibrant primary, a lot of you with a lot of different backgrounds in this race. And so sometimes voters, in my conversations with folks in this district, like they say that they know a lot of you. And there's a huge confusion on like, who stands for what or who's like what's this person's background. Sometimes it's the same in terms of stances. How do you distinguish yourself from your opponents?
Absolutely. I would say to begin with, all candidates are good candidates. I think they value the democratic values. They are standing on that. And coming out and doing this kind of a service to the community is not easy. Let's recognize that.
Yeah.
I agree we will have our opponents. We will show why I am the best. But I believe all of them are good candidates, number one. Number two, what I would like to say is I'm not a career politician. I have built businesses in this district, created more than 200 jobs, given preference to people with war on drugs, impacted by war on drugs, and I have given preference to women in our businesses. And I know what it takes to create jobs. I know what it takes to work with the next city, the next state, and if needed, go out of the country. And I have done that with my other businesses. So I believe in global working. I believe in bringing jobs to this district. That's what makes me unique. I understand business and progress. I am not a person that's going to do politics and policy and create a lot of red versus blue or him versus her. No, I want to see 8 district progress, and that's what my whole goal will be, and ensure that uh, earned benefits for seniors are not touched. They are the lifeline of my district. We have almost 55% of the district is above are into the age group of Social Security and Medicaid benefits to be earned, and I want to ensure that nobody touches that. So what sets me apart is I'm a doer. I want to do it, and I don't want to just talk about it. No politics, pure progress is what my philosophy is going to be.
Good to hear. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the big ugly bill. You are mentioning the earned benefits, as you say. Those are under threat with the big ugly bill. But beyond that, there's a lot, like 17 million Americans losing access to health care, 3 million people, including veterans and seniors, losing access to food assistance, and billionaires getting tax cuts at the expense of all of this. There's so much in the big ugly bill that I like to say, like I could keep going for 1,000 hours just talking about every single thing in that piece of legislation. But one of the questions I've been asking candidates here on the show is what specifically you have been concerned about in the bill? Because I'm sure, like, we talk about stuff in the media, we talk about the healthcare issues, of course, with Medicaid and whatnot. But is there something in that legislation that you have noticed specifically, given your background, or something that we're not talking enough about that you feel we should be talking about?
Agree. There are 2 points in particular that really concerns me. Number one, this bill has put in almost $3 trillion in federal deficit, and we are already having a debt on the country, and we are almost paying $1 trillion in interest, and now adding $3 trillion to appease the billionaires who don't even need these tax cuts. You know, uh,
Yeah.
so there is a limit to the greed that should be seen here on the backs of hardworking families, on the backs of seniors who have put their hardworking years, uh, contributed into the system, and ensure that when their golden years, as we call it later, senior years comes, that benefit is there for them. So today, that doesn't seem like that is the case for Medicaid as well as Medicare and Social Security are under threat. And these are lifelines. These are not just wannabes or something. These are essential services, and those should never be touched. The food programs. This is not given to somebody that has enough in life. These are people who are making barely. They go by. They have medical history. They may not be medically well, and they are not able to perform or work in the community. And that's why those programs were there to help the underserved, help the people that do not cannot help themselves. And those are the programs. I don't think that's what the America that I came to, which neglected people that really need and deserve. So I think it's really a big ugly bill, and I will, when I go to Congress, I'll fight to ensure that that is reversed, and we bring back common sense for our constituents around the country.
It's absolutely tragic, what's in that bill. And it's like it's been just so disturbing listening to the stories that we're already getting of people like losing access to so many different services. And, people talk about it going into effect next year or something. No, it's like it's hitting people now. And so it's so important that we highlight it because, and people will ask me, they're like, why do you keep asking people about about the big ugly bill? It's because we should never let anyone forget about it, and we should
And
never lose sight of it. Yeah.
And what is one thing to be understood is it's not just the bill cuts only blue people or red people. It
Yeah.
cuts everybody. One thing
Right.
both sides have to understand, and I'm a person that wants to unite people. I'm not looking to divide people, right?
Right.
So the bill equally cuts Republicans and Democrats. Just because you're a Republican doesn't mean you're going to be protected under that bill. If you are on the Social Security and Medicare, and they are many of them, it's going to hurt all of them. So I always say, look what they are trying to do. Just don't go by the color blindness. Think what is right for you as a individual. See what the leaders are doing. Put them to question. Put them to task to ensure that they really are protected, not just go blindly by the color. So I want to unite the district, not just divide by the colors.
Truly. And you're right. This bill does not discriminate. It's not left and right. It's really top and bottom, honestly, when you're looking at the issue of how this should be structured. I was talking to a legislator just in Illinois who is telling me that, there are people in their district losing 20,000 people are on Medicaid in that person's district, in a 100,000 person district. But then there are Republican representatives with people with as much as 50,000 people out of their 100,000 constituents on Medicaid. All of them lose access to it. It really doesn't discriminate. Now, you talk about how if you go to Washington, like that is going to be something that you focus on if you're elected. Um, how do you combat the big ugly bill? Like so much of it will already be in effect, and I mean the guy in the White House will still be there if you are elected in 2026. So how do you go about combating the really ugly impacts of the big ugly bill.
See, what we need to understand is a Trump and the current MAGA mindset is not going to be there forever. It is a period in time. History will make a note of it. But as we come closer to 2026, I believe the country will speak. I believe the people that are really, really regretting what they did is going to come back. And at the ballots and at the voting and the polling booths, people are going to speak. And when you take control of the House and the Senate, or the House or the Senate, we will start stopping the effect of those bills, and we will put into motion bills that will start reversing those. And that's what a common sense you need to bring to Washington, D.C.
Is there like a specific priority to start with that legislation that you talk about?
Absolutely. The citizens that have been disenfranchised by the big beautiful bill first need to be brought back uh, into the count so that they are not disenfranchised. 2 years is a long enough time of somebody losing those benefits. We need to re-look at that program, re-look at the bill, and force and talk across the aisle. Again, as I said, it's not a blue or a red bill. It cuts everybody. And I think it's a very common sense. Both sides will understand that this is not something that they need to support. And we need to bring that common sense back. We need to include the citizens that have been disenfranchised, to bring them back into the benefits that deserve and they need.
Well, I really do hope that you're right about the other side, coming to some sense, the MAGA mindset, as you put it. Like, I hope it does go away, but looking at the types of folks that are running for these seats, I'm just a little skeptical, I guess, of the possibility of the MAGA party, essentially, honestly, at this point, making that progress. But nonetheless, I mean, I hope to see that sort of progress that you speak of, at least from the Democratic side, if anything, like some sort of initiative that's completely absent in Washington right now, because Republicans are not able to speak up to Trump. And speaking of that, speaking of Republicans not being able to speak up to Trump, I want to talk a little bit about the national headlines that we've had over the past few weeks. Pretty concerning stuff when it comes to the issue of free speech. Jimmy Kimmel's show being pulled for a little bit over a misstatement of a fact, if you want to say that. We're seeing the Justice Department reports of indicting James Comey and investigating George Soros' foundation. There is a really deeply concerning pattern that we are noticing in this country right now, attacks on free speech and free expression. You're running, you're putting yourself out there, you're utilizing the power of free speech and free expression to, advocate for issues at the end of the day that you believe in. How do you take all of this that you're seeing right now?
I believe touching free speech is not what this country stands for, right? We tell the world democracy is the way to lead. I come from a country, India, which is the largest democracy, and I'm in a country which is my home, America, which is the oldest democracy. What have we been telling the world? Democracy by the people, for the people, of the people, correct? And that's what it is about. But what he's sending a message is, I don't believe in democracy. I believe in dictatorship, you would say, king-like behavior, ridiculing people. Yes, he's gotten away with few things. He's used his executive power to the maximum as much as he can. But people see this. People see what is happening. They may not be able to speak, but when time comes at the ballot and polling booths, that is when they'll speak. Because there is a use of force. We are seeing it at different immigrants communities. We are seeing it not just at the immigrant community. We are also seeing it at a national level where white, brown, black doesn't matter to him. If you speak something against him or that he doesn't like, he's going to make your life miserable. We have seen not just with Jimmy Kimmel, we have seen many, many instances before that. TV stations have been threatened. And today, George Soros Foundation is going to be looked into. So they are cherry picking. They are cherry picking things which hurt them And that's not, people are not going to forgive them for that. I think people will speak up, but it's going to be speaking up at the polls and at the voting booths, because otherwise, you know what's going to happen. You're going to get threatened for your livelihood. You're going to be threatened for your speech, and people are worried. I get that, and that's it's natural that that is a reaction, because we are law-abiding citizens.
Hmm.
But when you stretch it too much, you see things like, unfortunately, even what happened with uh, Charlie Kirk. It is exactly, you are fueling uh, people's rage that's coming out.
Indeed. I really, again,
It
all we
cuts
can do is
both sides.
hope.
See that? It cuts both sides.
It
The more we fuel
truly,
people to be angry, the more you fuel to start dividing it, it cuts both sides. And that's what I'm worried about.
truly. I mean, again, like a tax on free speech for one doesn't automatically make it freer for the others. Like it's a ruthless cycle of it. One more question about the headlines. We have a government funding deadline next week. I guess this episode will come out on September 28th. So in a couple of days, and as of right now, there is still confusion on the Democratic side of whether or not to leverage their power in the Senate uh, to force the Republicans to shut down the government. Because right now, well, the talk is that they want to continue funding some of the things of the big ugly bill. Where is your mind on this thing? Because I imagine if you are elected, and more likely than not, it's a split government with Democrats in the House and Republicans in the Senate, these government funding showdowns will become a big part of your life. So as we're looking at the impending one coming up right now, where is your mind at? Do you think that Democrats should be leveraging their power as much as they can, and force the Republicans to shut down the government? Or should we see what happened in earlier this year when Democrats did lend their votes to keep the government open?
Um, I, I'm of the proponent that shutting down government is never a solution. Voters and constituents elected us to find solutions. They did not elect us to keep them hostage or keep essential services uh, at, at shutdown mode, right? So we do need to come to a compromise. Yes, there will be things that we will not like, and there will be things that we will not agree to. But in the interest of uh, all the uh, my constituents and nationwide citizens, in the interest of them, we need to ensure that we again bring common sense thinking. What is more important? Yes, it's always an art of compromise. Politics is an art of compromise, and I think we need to find what most important things we want this time, and then rest your table for the next time when this comes up, because you'll never get everything that you want.
I see. All right. Well, I want to talk a little bit about 2026, after 2026, if you are elected. I love hearing ideas. And so this is kind of a question that I've been playing on for the past few interviews, which is tell me what your priority is, I guess, on day one. Like, what would you hit the ground running with if you are elected in 2026? So then you know you're in the nice chamber of Congress in 27. What's day one's priority? And then what would your 100-day priority be? Priorities, maybe. I don't know.
Um, Very good question. I think my first priority will be to start forming some kind of a coalition, make friends. And why? Because you alone cannot make a difference in the middle of 435 congressmen, right? So
Yeah.
you need to start making your coalition. You need to start getting consensus, and that's when you can start making an effect. But the first thing that I would start focusing on is the senior care, the earned benefits for my seniors in the district. I think those are lifeline, essential things, and I want to make sure that they are not ignored, or if they're disenfranchised, we want to bring that back on the table to ensure that their benefits are not compromised. That's number one. Number two, around my 100-day program, I would like to ensure that jobs are brought back to the district. I would work with the local municipalities. I'll work with the local corporations, as well as international companies, My district is a home to a lot of Japanese and Korean companies that consider them as a home. And I want to go and make and bring them, double down on that to bring more companies back in the district, which creates high paying jobs. You know, and then we want to make sure that things are affordable. Today, at 7 and 6.5% interest rates, we are not able to afford housing. We are not able to afford groceries. And that is under the control of federal government. Getting interest rate back to common sense interest rate is what I call 2%, 3% is what it should be. That's how our economy has been designed, and that's what we need to bring. So the pocketbooks are full, and people can enjoy their holidays. Make sure that not just holidays, their monthly bills are within the reach of a husband wife working together or a single person working. He can afford uh, dignity of living is what I would focus on.
And I guess this is a bit more of like a positive ended question. I mean, not that the last one wasn't, but like this one's a little bit more outwardly like that. What is, I guess, your hope in a term? Let's just go with the assumption that it's, it's just the 2-year term. What is your hope for that 2-year term? What do you hope to accomplish?
So my goal would be in the 2 years, again, as I said, I like to bring consensus. That's number one. You build a foundation for the 8th district that can be represented very well. It's a district of Raja Krishnamurthy, who's been a 5-term congressman, very high respected. I want to also ensure that I follow his legacy to ensure that the progress that he did, I'll continue that path is number one. And ensure that the democratic values, center left, is what I want to bring in my 2-year term. And again, want to ensure that my office is easily accessible. Office, I will be available through digital media, digital means, have ensure that my voters and ones who did not vote will be having access to me monthly. Once we will have a town hall meeting, either digitally, so that they can ask questions, they can be connected. And of course, my office and staff will always be available to solve any district problems that we can be part of their life.
Very good. Well, Neil, we are running out of time here for our interview, but before we do wrap things up, are there any parting thoughts you'd like to share with my audience?
Repeat that again. Parting thoughts, you said?
Are there any parting thoughts that you wanted to share
Parting thoughts. Okay.
with
I
my
thought you were
audience?
talking about the new leadership in the Democratic
Oh,
Party, which we do
not.
need, by the way. We do need young leadership to come in with new ideas, new changes, because otherwise we would lose the midterm elections. If we do not see new leaders rising up to the podium, I think we have a difficult job ahead of us. Parting thoughts for me would be, again, I'm not a career politician. I want to give back to the community that gave me everything. 8th district is my home. I've lived here more than 30 years, and I want to ensure that this district remains vibrant. Like back in the day when I came into this district, Woodfield Mall, the 5th largest mall in the country, needs to be brought back to its glory days. That's what I want to fight. I want to ensure companies like Motorola come back here, companies like Sears, the next generation of Sears companies are brought back, and ensuring that my seniors and women are not left aside. That would be my parting thoughts. Join us. Our campaign is going pretty strong. People are joining us. Feel free again to volunteer, donate, or even call me for a coffee at your home. I'm more than happy to come by, stop by, share my vision, share my views. Neil for Congress. It's very simple. NEIL. You can also think of it as New Illinois or New Leadership. That's what it is. Neil, it's as simple as NEIL.
Well, Neil Khot, candidate for Congress, thank you so much for joining us here today. I hope to have you back on soon sometime for an update on the campaign, maybe before the primary.
As soon as we get our petition submitted, I think I'll be free. And let's do that. Thank you so much.
Let's make it happen. Thank you.